In today's political battlefield, tensions inside the Republican Party are reaching a boiling point, and the center of this explosive drama is none other than Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, widely known as MTG. For months, MTG has been clashing with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, often referred to by his supporters as MAGA Mike. But now, the situation has taken a dramatic turn. According to sources inside Washington, MTG is allegedly preparing a full-scale attempt to overthrow Mike Johnson from the Speaker's chair before she completely loses patience with what she calls his weak leadership and constant betrayal of conservative voters. The internal civil war brewing inside the GOP is becoming impossible to ignore, and political analysts believe the next few days could reshape the entire Republican future. The conflict started quietly, behind closed doors, but it erupted publicly when MTG accused Speaker Johnson of abandoning the core principles of the MAGA movement. She claims that Johnson has repeatedly compromised with Democrats on major spending bills, foreign aid packages, and border policies, something she describes as a humiliating surrender. MTG insists that the conservative base didn't elect Republicans to bow down to the White House or negotiate with what she calls radical leftists. Her frustration has pushed her to take a drastic step. She is drafting a motion to vacate the chair, the same procedure previously used against former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. If she succeeds, Johnson could be forced out of power in the most dramatic leadership collapse in recent congressional history. Behind the scenes, MTG's camp says she feels betrayed. When Mike Johnson first became Speaker, MTG supported him, believing he would boldly follow the America First agenda. But in her latest public statements, she says Johnson misled the movement by claiming to be a conservative fighter only to govern like an establishment figure. In a fiery interview, she warned that the Speaker's office is not a throne for weak men, and declared she would not remain silent while Johnson sells out Republican voters. These harsh words have intensified the tensions in Congress, with lawmakers now openly choosing sides. Republicans are now deeply divided. Some strongly support MTG, calling her a fearless warrior willing to challenge broken leadership. They argue that Mike Johnson's compromises have made him indistinguishable from Democrats. Other Republicans, however, accuse MTG of creating chaos for personal attention, saying her attempt to remove Johnson will only weaken the party right before an important election year. Many worry that another Speaker fight will bring Congress to a standstill again, creating more infighting at a time when the GOP needs unity. But even with criticism from her colleagues, MTG appears unmoved. She insists that the Republican Party must be purified, even if it sparks a political earthquake. Meanwhile, Speaker Mike Johnson has responded with a calm but firm tone. He says he will not be intimidated by what he calls political theatrics, and remains focused on governing responsibly. Johnson argues that compromise is sometimes necessary to keep the government functioning, especially when Republicans hold only a narrow majority in the House. He believes that leadership requires maturity, not anger, and suggests that MTG's confrontational approach harms the credibility of the entire party. Still, Johnson's allies privately admit they are worried. The threat of a motion to vacate is real, and with the House so evenly divided, it would only take a few rebels siding with Democrats to remove him from power. Political experts say MTG's move highlights the growing divide between establishment, Republicans, and the ultra-MAGA faction. For years, the party has struggled to balance traditional conservative values with the rise of aggressive, anti-establishment leaders. MTG represents a base that is deeply loyal to Trump-style politics, while Johnson symbolizes strategic old-guard republicanism. This clash is more than a personal feud. It represents two different visions for the future of the GOP. If MTG succeeds, the party could move even further toward the uncompromising, confrontational style she champions. If she fails, it could weaken the MAGA wing and strengthen the more traditional conservative leadership. As MTG gathers support, there are whispers in Washington that she may also be positioning herself as a future power broker. Some insiders believe she wants to be seen as the ultimate enforcer of loyalty to the America First agenda. For her supporters, she represents a voice that refuses to bend. For her critics, she is a disruptor who thrives on political chaos. But one thing is clear: MTG has the ability to force national headlines and shift the political climate with just one major announcement. Her motion to vacate could be introduced at any moment, leaving Washington in a state of high alert. Outside Congress, the public is sharply divided. Conservative voters who feel betrayed by traditional politicians are cheering MTG's actions. They argue that the Republican Party needs warriors, not negotiators. Meanwhile, others worry that this infighting only benefits Democrats who watch from the sidelines as Republicans fight among themselves. Social media has amplified the drama, with both sides launching trending hashtags, memes, and fiery commentary. The political battlefield now extends far beyond Washington, reaching millions of Americans who are frustrated, energized, or deeply concerned. With pressure mounting, all eyes are on what MTG does next. Will she officially file the motion to vacate and trigger another historic speaker showdown? Or will behind-the-scenes negotiations cool the tension? According to sources, MTG feels she must act soon or risk losing credibility among her followers. She has hinted that if Johnson does not course correct immediately, she will have no choice but to pull the trigger. Johnson, meanwhile, is preparing for whatever comes next, hoping enough Republicans will rally behind him to survive the challenge. The next hours and days may mark a turning point in American politics. If MTG launches her move and succeeds, Mike Johnson's downfall would be a victory for the MAGA wing and a warning to any Republican leader who tries to compromise. If she fails, it could isolate her within the party and damage the influence of the movement she represents. This is more than a leadership fight. It is a battle for the identity of the Republican Party. And as MTG stands ready to overthrow MAGA Mike, Washington is holding its breath, waiting to see who will emerge victorious in this escalating political war.